Hey, everybody, and welcome in. It's the Poorman Fantasy Football League podcast. We're the fantasy football show that gives you a peek inside the life and times of our Dynasty League. I'm your host, Mike, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Andrew. Andrew, it is Wednesday night, September 4th. Sorry, my apologies. It is the 4th, and we are no longer breaking down the divisions because real football is here, my friend. Week 1 is 1 day away, so we're going to do a little bit of a primer. Getting the season started, doing some predictions, doing some league analysis. You ready for this?
Bet. Let's get going.
All right, man. Okay, first things first, before we dive into the rest of that good stuff. At work today, because we work next door to each other now, did you get hit with that power outage?
Yes.
Did it make it nearly impossible for you to get home?
Yeah. All the traffic going south was way back. I even went I went away from South Common and Southgate and our block went out. Yeah.
Oh, really?
It went out
Okay.
from I would say 20 to 4 till about 5 to 4.
Okay.
But when I was driving home, they were saying on the radio that it was still South Common Shopping Center was down. Southgate Shopping Center was down. They were shutting down the mall, kicking people out because of no power. So,
It was big. Almost half the city was up without power for almost a half hour.
Yeah. So
that's a big space.
Yeah, it definitely slowed everything down.
Okay. Yeah, it did create a bit of an issue getting out. We have a gated yard that is electric powered. So without the power grid active, we were not able to escape. So we had to bring batteries out. Thankfully, we have batteries to power the gate to open it up to trigger the release.
Doesn't have a backup UPS?
Apparently not. Nope. That's what happens when you lease and you don't build and own. Yes, we do not have a backup UPS. The security system for the building itself is not attached to the gate, the release gate. Is an independent system. So the building security system, so you can swipe in and out, that is on its own independent power, and that was running, but we couldn't. Yeah. So lessons learned. Yeah. So the people who were there that knew how to opened the gate and said, "Everybody out, because I'm only doing this once because I'm going home." Poor guys. All right. Well, folks, we got some other news we want to bring to you real quick. Some deals have been struck. Football is nearly here. Injuries are abound, but healthy guys are making it to the field. So we're going to try and keep it short and brief. Brandon Ayuk, he got paid. Finally, good for him. Jamar Chase has not been paid, and he's still holding out. And I'm in full disagreement with him holding out. You have 2 years left on your contract. I understand the strategy on your last year. You want to secure some payment. I don't like that you're holding out at this point. Not good.
I mean, again, I agree with you. Play, keep your mouth shut. But it is tough when the number 2 wide receiver on your team is making $10 million a year more than you, and you're supposed to be the number 1 on the team. I can see where that could draw some animosity, but you still have to play. You have to earn. You have to go out and I have always said it, and you guys don't always agree with me, but you play through it. You prove. You stick it to the ownership to say, "Hey, I'm worth that money," because if you don't, what are you comparing yourself to? You take a year off, you're a year behind everybody, right? So who are you going to compare yourself to then? Your stats last year were zeros
because of injury.
Because
you weren't available. One of your best abilities is your ability to be
even if he sits out this whole year, because Cincinnati says, "Nope, forget it. We're standing our ground. You have a contract. You need to honor it." He misses all this year because he says, "I'm sitting out." His stat line is 0 for the whole year. How are you going to compare yourself?
Yes, you've got nothing to prove that you were worth this money. And you lost a lot because we're going to fine you now. And 2, you didn't accrue a year with the league. So,
I think he'll be.
I think at some point he will be playing. And my personal opinion of Jamar Chase is a bit jaded now. I'm not a big fan. Which is why I own a Burrow jersey, not a Chase jersey.
Especially if the Bengals do win without him. That's going to hurt him even worse. Because the ownership can just turn around and say, "Hey, we don't even need you. We're winning without you. So go home."
It's like, you make our team better, but we can still win.
And this is coming from a huge Bengal fan. So we'll see.
All right. Well, folks, we actually have quite a bit to get to tonight, so we're going to try and keep it concise because there's a lot that we were going to joke and I'm sure we're going to have some good laughs over. So what our friend Gabriel presented to us off the air last time we got together was, hey, when you guys get together to do this show, maybe you guys should do some more league analysis, do some predictions of what you think the way the league's going to go, right? So who's our number one team that's going to be in the playoffs, number 2, number 3, number 4, and then kind of like rank the teams, right? How we think the year is going to finish. And then what I added on top of that was I remember Gabriel posting from Keep Trade Cut a league analysis of, hey, this is, as of right now, this is what we think the strength of your league is like. Who's got the best running backs? Who's like, we'll rank them all from 1 to 10. Running backs, wide receivers. Yeah. And I went scouring through the internet and found several more websites that do the same thing. I found many more that offer it as a paid service, but to me, it's a bit more of a gimmicky thing that we were looking for, and not exactly like, I need to understand the deep analysis of my league so I can make better trades and waiver wire pickups. And it's like, yeah, I'm not going to spend $50, $60 to get that information when I think I'm competent enough to do that on my own. I just think it's kind of fun to see how another group of people,
and it's their personal opinions,
looks at it. It is. They obviously 2 of these leagues actually gave me their data sheets. 2 of these websites gave me their data sheets so I can see how they calculated their calculations, how they performed each of their metrics, which I found to be rather interesting, somewhat convoluted. I had to bring it all into an Excel spreadsheet to kind of see how it all maps out. And then I don't have the graphs pre-built, so I can't see how it all graphs. I can just see the raw data. Anyways, they present it in graphical form, which I found to be very, very fun to look at and peruse. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to let these internet experts analyze our league. We're going to make some comments of what they're showing. We're going to share you this information. I'm going to post some of these things inside our group chat tomorrow so you guys can all see these rankings with the links so you guys can go and check it out on your own. And then at the very end, well, not very end, I guess the middle part, the next step is Andrew and I are going to predict 1 through 10 how we think the league's going to finish. Not who's going to win the league, but we're going to go up to like the playoff. Who is going to be the 1 seed, the 2 seed, the 3 seed, all the way down to who is going to earn the title of Poorman of the Year. Early predictions. After that, because real football's here, baby, we're going to be doing some matchup predictions. Donnie has jumped on board and has given us predictions. So we're back. We're making predictions here. This is going to be fantastic. Week 1 matchups. And the best matchup of all, Andrew and me, baby. We're going head-to-head week 1.
That is our first bet.
Oh, that's right. I completely forgot. I've got it grayed out. I am now making...
And because you won last year and I get the first bet.
Oh, is it the Wheel of Death?
No.
Are you bringing back the...
Okay, it's our matchup.
Thank heavens.
And right now on paper, you're favored. But...
Am I favored? Oh, I'm not just selfishly picking myself. Okay.
But...
I like it. But... What is this but?
Mahomes and Travis Kelce.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Going against on Thursday night.
Great.
Oh, okay, whoa. You've also got Isaiah Pacheco, right? So you're heavily invested in
that win tomorrow night.
These Chiefs. Yeah. Okay. Which should be great. Okay. Wow, this is gonna be fun. Okay, so first things first. The first website I went to was a website called Fantasy Pros. Some of you might be familiar with it. I think it's pretty popular. They actually have some great free services, provide essentially a ton of juicy content. If you've never been to their website, I highly recommend going. So fantasypros.com. So what I did...
Great job if you're trying to figure out a trade analysis, whether it's an equal trade or not. Mm-hmm. They've got a good service for that too.
They have a good trade calculator, yeah. So this is what their current rankings are. Number 1, as of right now, is Marvin, a.k.a. Ice and Metal. Okay? There's a reason why he's a 3-peat champion. Okay? Last year was a different animal altogether. He suffered through a lot of injuries. But right now, they've got him ranked with a score of 100 out of 100. Sitting at number 2 with a score of 97 is your guy truly. Go, guy, go. I'm sitting here feeling pretty good. Sitting at number 3, current champion, who changed his name, and I can barely read it because it's so tiny. Ramajam party? It's like a weird pajama party. Okay. That would be Donnie. Donnie's sitting there with a 90 rating, but only 1 point behind him is our co-host with the most, Andrew, sitting at 89. And then 1 point right behind him is favorite of the show, Ryan, aka Slickburn, at 88. Yeah. Now, this is where I think it gets really interesting of how they analyze the rest of these guys. Ice and Metal, Go Guy Go, Donnie, Andrew, Slick, top 5. Number 6 sitting at 84, Shervin, former champion, usually a hot contender. Price at 83, so 1 point behind him. 1 point is last year's Poorman of the Year, Gabriel, now known as Little Baby Sheep Man. So he's sitting at 82. Juan, aka Juan Two Tree or the Goliath Killer, is at 81. So 1 point is really separating these guys. And way down at the bottom with a score of 77, which I found to be surprising, is Josh, aka the Multi Beasts. Now, Josh has hovered around being in and out of pushing for the playoffs every year come playoff deadline. And he makes some decisions, then he backs out. It's like he's been a bit wishy-washy, but he's always had a team that has been upsettable. Like he'll lose, but he'll upset you, and yeah, it's frustrating. But he's currently projected, according to Fantasy Pros, as the number 10 team. Okay. Now, you got a comment?
Looking through your stuff, a lot of these predictions are all over the place.
Yeah. So there is very little consistency on, or yeah, there's inconsistency because they all don't use the same methodology to do their predictions. So here's how Fantasy Pros comes up with this particular, because it's nice when you have the context of how do they look at this team and how do they do their rankings. So Fantasy Pros, in this instance, they are looking at your current starting roster. So if you left great players on your bench, it's not helping you.
Yeah.
So if you had Christian McCaffrey and you put him on your bench for whatever reason, and I did the analysis, it would say, well, no, this team's kind of silly. They left Christian McCaffrey on your bench, and instead you had Najee Harris as the starter in his place. So it takes what your starting roster lineup is and says, all right, I'm going to compare week to week who's going to have the best averages, not the peaks. They're going to say, here's what our projections are week to week. So this is what this team should produce with this exact lineup every week. I don't know how they factor in bye weeks. I don't know if they give you a 0 or not. Okay. Then they give you a little score. The second thing they do is they look at your bench. Now they're looking for strength of bench. Is what do you have on your bench that helps you? So in my case, if I've got 8 quarterbacks in a single quarterback league, that is not helping me. That's actually a detractor because I'm going to get a bunch of points to a specific onesie position that isn't adding value.
Makes sense.
So if you have, like, say, 2 or 3 quarterbacks, but like 8 running backs and 8 wide receivers, and then say 3 tight ends, you have a better distribution, so you'll actually get a better score. And then somehow, I don't know exactly how this one works. They average out something. They figure out a metric for your bench score. Okay. And then they take an aggregate of all of your positions. So if you've got 8 running backs in total, they're like, well, let's take all of those running backs and let's give you an average. Well, if you've only got 3 running backs and they're top 5, you're going to have a killer average versus somebody who has, say, not so good, but every one of those running backs are decent. But because you have one guy down there that does like 0 points because he's a rookie and he's on your taxi squad, it might lower. So there's some, it's not true data, right? I guess it's true data, but it's not like, not all these things are going to be an apples to apples comparison. So as of right now, it gives out a team ranking, an overall league ranking, and then you as an individual. So Andrew, you'd have to go in. If I give you the link and then you switch to your team, it'll show you how does it rank your running back, your tight end, your flex, your wide receivers, your quarterback, your starters, and your bench, and then gives you like your positional ranking compared to all of the other your league mates. Okay. So I'm sitting 1, 2 at running back and tight end. My flex is 4, wide receiver 5, quarterback is 6. Starters overall are second overall. My bench is first. So they think my bench is really good. So that's kind of how this all played in.
Yep.
Make sense so far? Okay. So we've got, you know what I should have been doing while we were doing this? Is I should be adding these rankings to our little sheet at the bottom. All right. You know what? I will do that after, and that way we can post that one thing. So let's see, Mike's predictions, Andrew's predictions, Fantasy Pros, and then all of these other services. So we can see them all side by side. Okay, next up, Keep Trade Cut. I think also a very well-known website. Many people have used its services. It has a free trade calculator, among other things. Plus, it's nice to actually play the little game of Keep Trade Cut. Now, Gabriel had already posted this once, and it does take some context to have an understanding exactly how this team looks. So here's the ranking. Andrew doesn't like it because Andrew did not score well.
I'm 10th. I got Travis Kelce, who's the number 1, 2, or 3 tight end in the league.
He's a top 3 tight end guaranteed, but you're ranked 10th. Okay, so I don't know how, because I don't have access to this information because their website doesn't share that. So right now, here's the ranking. Marvin sits at number 1 again. I'm coming at number 2. Slick is at number 3. Little Baby Sheep Man, last year's Poorman of the Year, jumps up to number 4. Chervin sits at 5. Josh, who, according to Fantasy Pros, was number 10, is now 6. Emma Jamma Party, Donnie, is now down at 7. Rice is number 8. Andrew sits all the way down at 9. Okay? And Juan, a.k.a. the Goliath Killer, is all the way down here at 10. And what's interesting is that I agree with you, Andrew. You have one of the better tight ends. However, you're sitting here at 10, and that makes no sense to me. And because I can't see how they're performing these calculations, I don't know what data they're using to try and come up with these results. Yeah. So this is the overall team performance, and then they give you a ranking of like, where do you rank in comparison to quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and then the value of your pick. So the value of my pick is number 3. I don't know if that's based upon the number of picks I have, because if I'm projected to be a league winner or a contender, I would think that number would be lower, because you wouldn't want my picks, because my picks are going to be later in the draft. Right now, Little Baby Sheep Man is number 1, and that makes sense because he was last year's loser. His picks should be are early this year, or they were at least. So going into next year, Donnie is ranked 10, and that makes sense because Donnie finished as the league champion, so his picks are later. So I'm thinking it has to do not just with the projected value of your pick, but the quantity of picks that you have. So I think that's somehow plays into this.
Must be. And they don't have the flex either, right? So
all right. So the next website I found is fantasyfootballranker.com. And these guys, this is exactly what they do, is they just look at your team, and it's very simple to import your sleeper account. Don't use websites that ask you for your username and password. Do not use those. Okay. All they need is the little code at the very top of your league ID or your username, and it'll go and scrape the data from Sleeper. So if you go find a website and it says, yeah, put your username and password here to log in to your site so that we can get access to your data, don't do that. They're just stealing your stuff. So this site does a league power rankings. They also do, it really, this is just the value that we got. Now, this is where things get fun, and I think is a way more accurate. I don't know how they do it. They wouldn't reveal their data set points, so I could actually look and see like how they're making their calculations. I still love the results though. Here we go.
Of course.
So number 1 and league winner, this guy, go, Mike, your host, and I love it. It's fantastic. They gave me a rating of over 2,000 REM points. I'm not sure what REM stands for. But REM. It's not the sleep one, but it's. They gave me over 2,000 points, and I'm the only guy in the league that has that. Irvin, a.k.a. Ice and Metal, comes in at number 2, and he's just shy of the 2,000 mark. Andrew, our co-host here, comes in at number 3, and he's sitting at, I'm going to guess, 1,800 points. Maybe just shy at 1,900 points. Then we got Slick coming in number 4, not far behind Andrew, And not far behind him is Bryce at number 5, Donnie at number 6, very close. And then there's a bit of a drop off here. Chervin slips down. Gabriel, aka Little Baby Sheep Man, then looks like he's practically tied with Josh the Multi-Beast. And then with the little poop emoji next to his name is Juan, aka 123, the Goliath Killer. He's down here at 16 points or 1,600 points. All right, so I don't know exactly how they calculated it. I have no context to argue. I have no need to argue. I'm sitting at the top of the food chain. Andrew, how are you feeling about your position in this one?
Back into a bronze medal spot.
Yes, you are. You're at least into the context of contending. All right. This next website, dynastydaddy.com. These guys actually shared their data points. Actually, you can download their whole calculation mechanism in a spreadsheet, which I found to be very, very refreshing instead of having to chat with them to get the information or try and reverse engineer. And they do a variety of ways of analyzing your league. The one I took was kind of a comparison to the other ones previously, right? So they do a ranking 1 through 10, and then they do a ranking of your starters, QB, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and then your flex. And they give you what's called a contender ranking. So right now, there's only 2 contenders listed in our league. 3 contenders. Sorry, I see that down here. So there's 3 contenders: myself, Marvin, and Donnie. Those guys are listed as contenders. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that are currently listed as rebuilding. That is Josh, aka the Multi-Beast, Chervin, Andrew, Little Baby Sheep Man, and Juan. Those guys are all listed as rebuilding. And then they give a bit of a score here, which I'll get into a second. Then there is Frisky team. So I'm assuming a team that's not rebuilding, but could be a contender. And that would be Slick, aka Ryan. And then there's a team that's completely listed as a fraud. And that's Bryce. Brutal, right? Bryce has been middle of the pack. So 5 here. Where was he? He was 8 down here. And where was he here? He was 7 here. So middle of the pack. But in this case, these guys just outright called him a fraud. And here's how they rank it. So when it comes to starter rank, I'm number 1. Marvin's number 2. Number 3 is Donnie. Number 4 is Slick. Number 5 is Bryce. Fraud. Well, that's weird. You called him a fraud, but he's sitting here at number 5. Number 6 is Andrew. 7 is Chervin. 8 is Juan. 9 is Josh, aka the Multi-Beast. And number 10 is Little Baby Sheep Man. Like, okay, well, let's keep following the data. Why do they feel this way? Because I really want to understand, why is Bryce a fraud if you've currently had him ranked 5 based upon his starters? Well, Bryce, oddly enough, comes through at number 1 at quarterback. Okay. Hey, man, Patrick Mahomes is a good quarterback, but he's not the backup. Hey, it doesn't matter. Jalen Hurts. I don't even know who Bryce has. Would you be able to look that up while I'm spouting off here? All right. So he's number 1 at quarterback. He's ranked number 5 at running back, 9th for wide receiver.
We're talking about Bryce, right?
6. We're talking about Bryce. 6 at tight end, and 6 at your flex. So essentially your bench.
He's got Josh Allen.
I'm assuming Josh Allen.
And then
his
other quarterbacks, Aiden O'Connell and Josh Browning.
Okay, so it's not factoring in those guys at all. They're just looking at pure starter. Okay.
So they're picking Josh Allen ahead of Patrick Mahomes.
I would take Josh Allen ahead of Mahomes. Josh Allen has outperformed Patrick Mahomes the last couple of years. Although this year might be rough because he doesn't have his known talent. Anyways, so I don't know if fraud is bad per se at this point, because rebuilding could be almost viewed as worse because rebuilding roster has a lot of red. Whereas Josh has some green, some light, some bright green, some I guess yellowish green, and then some orange, and only 1 red. Yeah, I don't understand that particular ranking because he's still 5th. So maybe that 5th-ish ranking is just like, you're a fraud. You're not a contender. You're a fraud, but you're not rebuilding.
Maybe.
Maybe? Okay. So if you have a rebuilding tag here, you're not quite there yet, which I think is weird because I agree with some of these labels. I don't think your team is rebuilding.
Yeah, neither do I. With my team, I look at it as starting to age out, and I need to look at rebuilding.
Sure. Yeah. You are aging. Your only knock against your team is that it says you're ranked 9th in flex. So you just don't have the depth pieces. But 3 at quarterback, 6 at running back, 5 at wide receiver, 2 at tight end, which makes sense because you have aging Travis Kelce, but who's still going to perform And then you've got 9 as your flex. I think if that flex, if you were able to add some depth, it would probably change its ranking. But we don't need to change ranking. We just need to win weeks and make it to the playoffs. So that was Dynasty Daddies. I actually really enjoyed going through the website because they have some neat little gadgets to look at if you're looking to how to analyze your team. Now, the next website is called fantasycalculator.com. So going to this website, they gave a bunch of data geared mostly towards you as an individual, not so much the league stuff. And it was cool to see you import that you put in your username and it goes and scrapes your data from Sleeper. And then what it does is it gives you an analysis in each league that you're in. And it does some really neat analysis. It just doesn't, it's hard to quantify it with the rest of your league.
Yeah, it doesn't like your
guillotine
league at all.
No, it doesn't.
15 of 18?
No. Yeah. Hey, my team is built to win week 1. And then I buy my way to wins every week after that. That is my strategy. Okay. Win week 1. It doesn't matter if you're first or if you're 17th. As long as you're not the last guy, number 18 on week 1, that's all that matters. Spend your money and get your players. There is some rough rankings. So what I wanted to do here, because I couldn't give you a breakdown of my team versus everybody's team, because that would take a lot of time and effort, and we just don't have that. So what I wanted to do was give you a bit of a breakdown on leagues that I'm in and how it feels I'm ranked by comparison. And it does a valuation of if this was a dynasty team, here's your ranking. If this was a redraft team, here was your ranking, which I thought to be pretty neat. And then it says, hey, here's the current top free agents in each of these leagues, and then tries to give you recommendations, and then it becomes a paid service beyond that. So Poorman, and it does it alphabetically, I believe, right? Yeah, Poorman League. It currently ranks me number 1. I'm just going to point that out, guys. It's got me ranked number 1.
I'm ranked number 1 in 3 or 4 of these leagues.
Yeah, I love it when the data falls my way because I put it together. Yeah, that's not scripted.
I paid for all these services.
Money well spent. Stroke my ego. All right. Other leagues you guys are familiar with. Crazy Man. That would be our Superflex league hosted by our friend Donnie. It has currently listed me as number 4 in that league dynasty rank. I won that league last year. I am very old and I have no picks because I went all in, and I've got maybe last year's win, and I'm hoping back-to-back this year, and then I really got to blow this thing up because I am in my 30s on that league. The next one we've got up that you guys will be familiar with, No Fun League, which I feel like I'm a contender. I'm going to push. I've been so close these last couple of years. I lost out to Ron Mexico last year. This year's the year. I'm currently ranked 3. So that feels about right. And then Simple Man. I like this. It ranks me as number 1. I won that league last year. Completely forgot all about it. Yeah. So in other leagues, in leagues I know that I'm rebuilding, it feels very accurate. Tony had a spot in another league called the Common Man. I joined it. I'm currently ranked 9 out of 10. And that feels about right. This team was in rough shape, and I had to go begging for trades. And 2 guys stepped up to kind of give me some favorable trades to get some draft picks, kind of overpaid me to give me some assets because the guy who had this team tanked it. And there's one dude who was completely uncool. I'm gonna use that word, uncool, that I look forward to trouncing this year, whoever it is that guy is. But yeah, the other leagues I know that I'm struggling in, it feels accurate. So this one, I think their data points are probably pretty good. I would highly recommend you guys each take some time, go to this website, put your teams in it, and then at the leagues that you're in, it'll show you your starting position in a blue triangle, in a blue like diagram, and then it'll say, here's your strengths, weaknesses on this diagram. And then behind it, it'll layer in your bench players. And it'll say, you have a weak point in your bench by comparison, because ideally you'd want to have the second diagram at least mimic or be within close proximity to the other points. Because if it's too small, then it means you don't have depth of the position. If one of your starters goes down, you have a weak spot. So they're trying to explain, like, hey, if your diagram is this big, you want to have your bench like this, or be in like this weird shape to kind of like, hey, you've got some strengths here that you can leverage, and then here's some suggestions on how to fortify your weak spots. And then obviously they want you to pay to get that information. It's lots of fun. So knowing what we know now, Andrew, you ready to do some predictions, or do you want to wait until after we do our weekly matchup predictions?
No, I'm cool to do this now.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the right. So we actually had data points from Fantasy Pros, right? Fantasy Pros. Yep. And the other one was Keep Trade Cut. One of them was Dynasty Daddy. Sorry. Let's not call them Dynasty Dad. Fantasy Calculator don't think counts because it doesn't give a league prediction. Fantasy Football Ranker. Would you do me a solid and go back to the Fantasy Pros and read out the ranks? And I'll type them in for us. Ice and Metal.
Go guy, go.
Okay.
Go guy,
number
go.
2. Okay.
Ram
number
Jam
3.
Party.
Okay, I was going to write Donnie.
Me.
Number 4. Andrew.
Slick.
Okay. Slick. Number 5. Slick. There we go. Number
Chervin.
6. Chervin.
Bryce.
Number 7. That's Bryce. What a fraud. Sorry, please
baby,
go.
Little baby
Number 8.
Sheepman.
Oh, yeah. And I will write that out in full. Little baby Sheepman, as to pay respect for his name that he earned. Okay, number 9.
The Goliath Killer. 1.
And then number 10 would be Josh, right?
The Beast.
Okay, let's move over to Keep Trade Cut, the one that was not favorable to you.
So team overall, okay.
Ice again. Okay.
You, Slick, Gabriel.
Okay. Well, I got to copy and paste that one. I'm not writing that out again. Okay.
Chervin.
Number 5, Chervin.
Multi.
So Josh moved up here. Okay.
Donnie.
Okay.
Bryce, myself.
Okay.
And Juan. I'm sure Juan is as impressed as I am.
Okay, let's go Dynasty. Yeah. Hey, Juan is down here at 9 and 10 on 2 of these rankings so far. All right, let's go back to Dynasty Daddy. I think that was the third one we did.
No, that was the 4th one.
Or was it Fantasy Football Ranker? No, Fantasy Football Ranker was next.
So you.
Yeah.
Ice.
Okay. Seeing some consistency here. I like that part. Andrew, there you go. You're
Slick.
back up. Slick moves ahead of Donnie in this poll. Hey, that poser moved up again.
Donnie, Chervin,
okay.
Gabe.
Yep. Little baby sheep man. We don't call him Gabriel, except for context.
Multi.
Josh. Wow, living down here at the bottom,
and
Josh.
Juan again.
Woo, on dumpster fire. All right, then it's Dynasty Daddy.
Under that one, is that the start rank?
Yeah.
Is that the one that, or the?
Yeah, the starter rank.
Okay.
We'll use the starter rank.
Yourself.
Yep. Okay.
Ice,
Got that? Yep.
Slick,
Like
multi,
right there.
Multi.
Josh?
Oh, wait, no.
No, Josh isn't 4.
Sorry. Oh, these jumped all over the place. They weren't in order. So
they do. Yeah,
okay,
they're not in order. So it goes 1, 2. So Slick is 4.
Yeah, Slick is 4. 3 is Donnie.
5
is Bryce.
Even though they list him as a fraud. It's a weird title.
Myself.
Andrew at number 6. Wow, that's a
Chervin.
big drop. Chervin. Holding steady in the mid.
Juan.
Number 8. Juan, it's his highest rank so far.
Multi.
Josh. And then?
Little baby sheepman again. At the bottom again.
Okay. All right. So a very interesting array to do a comparison. Yep. What I'd like to do you want to go from the top down, naming our number 1 contender, down to who we think is going to be Poorman of the Year?
Sure.
Or do you want to go Poorman of the Year all the way up to
let's go. Let's go.
Number 1 contender.
Let's go bottom.
Okay. I don't think he's going to like this. I really don't. But my choice is actually Juan.
Mine's going to be Josh.
Yours is Josh. Okay. Would you like to provide a quick excerpt of why you think Josh is going to be the Poorman? And then I'll give one for
when you look at the websites, Josh is there's only one that he's up at 6. The rest he's either 9 or 10. I'm not having a whole lot of context. Not looking at. looking at his team. I'm going by what's going on with the website stuff, and just gut feelings. My next one is
that's just it. Like we are not true data analysts. We don't, this is for the its and giggles of it all. So when I'm looking at Josh's team right now, I can see within his current starting lineup, I can see causes for concern. Real causes for concern. Because Josh is my number 9 and chose Juan. And the reason why I chose Juan, and I just need to pull up his roster. I'm looking for it. He's got such a silly name, and I hate how these names change when you are, where is it? A Goliath Killer. There we go. Okay. He has, actually, there was a reason. Okay. He has Glassjaw, his team. His team has a solid lineup. We're going to go through it real quick. Jalen Hurts, Derrick Henry, Chuba Hubbard, Devontae Adams, Jalen Waddle, Jake Ferguson, Tank Dell, Jacoby Myers, Gus Edwards. So some notable players to start with.
But it seems
those are the best. That's all he's got.
And
his best bench spot is disgusting.
And his starting guys, a lot of them are the number 2s on their team, like Waddle.
Jalen Waddle, Tank Dell, Jacoby Myers, Gus Edwards might not even make it out of the first couple of weeks. Like there is a lot of cause to concern. Josh, to me, has a team that's scary, and there's a lot to be concerned with. But he's got youth, and to me, he's got options on the bench that he could pivot to. Like he's got some great handcuff running backs. Not a lot of starting running backs, but he's got some wide receivers that can at least grow into something. Whereas Juan's bench and everything, like this is, he's gonna be fighting to not be last.
And I have Juan as my I would put Juan.
Okay, so we're just flip flopping. We're just flip flopping there. Okay, all right. This is where the rubber's going to meet the road, because historically 1 through 8 have always been battling for the last playoff spot. Like we are fairly competitive, and that's lovely. It could be challenging and frustrating at times, as it makes it difficult to separate from your peers when they all play just as good. Who do you have here at number 8?
Little Baby Sheep Man.
I think that's the right choice. I think that is the right choice. Gabriel's team is just a rebound away.
Yeah. He'll climb this year, he'll climb next year, and then I think he's a playoff guy.
Yeah. Some great young talent anchored by Jamar Chase at wide receiver, who might hurt him more than help him, at least to start the season. But Juan's team was always super high, super low, not a lot of safety net in between.
And the only team the Little Baby Sheep Man seems to beat is me. So
yeah, that's right. He did take you down in some inopportune moments. But he's got some draft capital. He's got a first and 3 seconds next year. He's got some nice young talent. He's got Marvin Harrison. He just needs to unload, I think, Amari Cooper's his only old man in his roster. Well, that's not bad.
Some of his guys just have to grow into their positions, and he'll be okay.
Yeah. It's a young team. It's growing. Yeah. So I think based upon like typical rookie performance, this is about where I think his team is going to sit. Knowing what Donnie did last year, however, going from 10-1 with a bunch of rookies, that's a different story. He took advantage of.
Donnie got lucky. Donnie got real lucky.
He did. Every week was like, hey, I'm one of the lowest scorers of the week, but I happen to be against the lowest scorer of the week, and that's how I beat him. What a guy.
Next,
but a win's a win.
Next on my list would be Chervin.
You got Chervin here.
Again, based off of like the data that these websites are saying, right? He's right around this spot, like 5, 6, and 2 7s.
Okay. Chervin he's been
very consistent.
He's been really consistent. He's always there. He's got a good roster. He's got some good bench steps. Like, I think, to me, I'm battling here between Chervin and Bryce.
We're going to be, we're going to be in the same situation. If you're going Bryce and then Chervin, I was going to go Chervin then Bryce.
Okay, so you're going Chervin at 7, Bryce at 6. Here's what I like about Chervin's roster. I think you're right. I think Chervin is down here because he is going to have to rely on a bunch of younger guys. And Brandon Ayuk finally got that deal, so he's okay. But I actually like Bryce's roster It's a mix of old. It's a mix of new. So he's got some stuff like Devon Achane, James Cook, Deebo Samuel, Devontae Smith, Pickens. Jordan Addison's a bit of a question. Calvin Ridley might be, but he's got some options here. Okay, so I'm with you on this one. Shervin at 7, Bryce at 6. Now we're getting into the top 5. So guys that we have not named yet: Marvin, Donnie, Slick, myself, and Andrew. Where do you go here?
Because I know who the next two are. I think because I know where I want to put myself, I'm going to put Slick here.
I'm going to put Slick here?
And then I'm going to put myself at 4. I'm making the playoffs. Just like last year, I made the playoffs in 4th and I went to...
Yep.
No, I finished 3rd, sorry. And then went to the no, not the finals. Got knocked out in the semifinals. So,
okay.
And yourself?
I got Donnie here at 5.
Okay.
Donnie's got a good team, but he took advantage of so many weak performances last year where they just stacked up in his favor. Because if you recall, he was in line to receive the number 3 overall pick or the number 2 overall pick based upon our points for
and you just
system.
Sold me.
If he didn't make the playoffs,
just sold me. Put Donnie at at the 5. I'm moving. No.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, at the 4. I'm moving myself up to the 3. Ahead of Donnie.
Okay. All right. So Donnie, good young team. Lots of talent. He did a massive job in rebuilding that team. Bijan, Brees, some great young talent. What he was able to accomplish. The funny part about all of it is it paid off come championship week, because was just edging himself along until playoff week when everybody decides to light it up. And it's like, all right, the truth is here.
I do believe, if memory serves me correct, he knocked me out because he was 1, I was 4. And going into Sunday afternoon, I was ahead of him in points, and my afternoon players just kind of did nothing. So you got me here. Okay, yeah, 4.
Frustration.
No, that's fair.
Okay, so I've got you at 4th, and reason being is your team is aging.
Yep, fair enough.
And I've got you at 4th, solid. But here's why. Okay, I think my number 3 is Slick.
Yep.
Slick has been steadily improving and has, to me, officially nipped that playoff bug in the butt, where he either got knocked out or missed the cusp. And last year, I think his team proved to be super consistent and didn't let him down in that last week, where his team continued to steamroll and move forward. So I got Slick here at number 3.
See, I have him still as the Chargers. Strong season. And then the last 3 games of the season, you poo-poo and you missed the playoffs.
Okay.
This is right. This is where I have his 3 now.
You moved up to your 3. All right. So to quickly recap, you've got Slick at 5, Donnie at 4, yourself at 3. I've got Donnie at 5, you, Andrew, at 4, and Slick at 3. How do you rank the remaining 2?
I got Ice at 2 and you at 1. I hate to say it, but
yeah, baby,
even though I'm going to beat you tomorrow,
you're going to try
this week. You're going to start at 0-1, and then you'll work your way up.
No, because your whole week is tomorrow. You're going to bring your entire Kansas City offense against me on day 1 of week 1,
and it's like, all right, hitting 45 points in week 1 as well.
Okay. I also have myself going through it. I think I've constructed an extremely, extremely good team with depth, and I do fear Ice. He has always had great assets. He drafted well. However, that his window is starting to close and the years are starting to disappear. But he still has Burrow, Taylor, Jacobs, Jefferson, DK Metcalf, Mark Andrews, Garrett Wilson, Amon St. Brown, Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah. Yeah, your team is very.
It is. I think I have a great set of starters, and I've got some additional guys I can pull off my bench to swap in if I need to do a matchup play or if I need to gamble on, like, you know what, I'm going to take out James Conner and put in somebody like Cortland Sutton. I don't know, David Montgomery, Devin Singletary. Like, I think I have some options that I could pull some of these guys out and put them in and maybe play the matchup game and see if I can get some additional points out of that. Yep. So, all right, boys, you heard it here first.
You go 0-1.
The season runs through me.
But it starts with 0-1.
I go 0-1. Right.
So
I
actually,
don't buy
now you
that.
and I will head off twice this year in this league.
We will, yeah. We're gonna have some good bets on that.
2 losses. That might put Marvin ahead of you.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So I think the real contenders that we're looking at are really all the way down to Chervin, Bryce, Donnie, Andrew, Slick, Marvin, myself. I think those are the guys that are really contending. Gabriel, if his team performs like it looks like on paper, obviously there's not a lot of consistency. That's never really a thing. That's why he's at 8. And then Juan and Josh, I think, are just fighting to keep themselves at a last place.
But we've all seen it. Donnie went from last to worst. It's really anybody could take off. Your matchups may just work out perfectly for you like it did for Donnie, and you end up in first place. Like anybody could take it.
We're so Canadian, aren't we?
Yes.
We were so hyped on ourselves, putting ourselves at the top, and then like, but it's okay, guys. Everybody has a shot. We're all team players,
gets participation.
You know what you're talking about.
Everybody gets a participation ribbon.
That's right. We're all good here. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed doing this. It was just a neat little exercise to go through. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this. When I post the link for you all tomorrow, I'll post screenshots and grabs of all of this. And that way you can see how we broke it all down, share the links and go and check the stuff out for yourself and enjoying the fun. Now we got 2 more things we got to get through before we go. The second step, we're going to do our week 1 matchup predictions. Well, I already know where I love it. You put me Mike 0-1. Fantastic. Love that. Stay on brand, okay? Matchup 1, it's me and Andrew. We're going head to head. I am surprised I am favored by what I'm 125 to your. Why are you so low? What is it? Who is it that's doing that? DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
How is he doing? Is he back? He was injured. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm yelling. Is he back? Was he injured? Right.
Sure.
So he says DeAndre Hopkins knee officially limited on Wednesday. So that's today. That was 6 hours ago. Hopkins was able to practice on Wednesday, but he was still limited because of the knee injury that he suffered earlier this offseason. Still, it appears that he is on the right track to play week 1, which would be good for the fantasy value of Will Levis, but would hurt the workload of Calvin Ridley.
Yeah. I mean, I still have on my bench Elliott, who's
the starter right now. He's the dude.
He's going to have to come out with a chip on his shoulder to say the team made the right decision. So I've got an option there if Hopkins.
That's a bold. Actually, that's probably a decent start. What about Keon Coleman for you? Rookie wide receiver for Buffalo. Do you think he's got it, that he could do it week 1, come out and be the guy?
The reason I didn't put him in there is I want to see.
You want to wait and see first. You want to see if he can build that trust.
If I lose by 1 point because the guy only got me 6 instead of 7, it's one of those things, right?
He's currently listed as wide receiver 3 on the depth chart.
Which I don't understand.
Curtis Samuel. Well, he's a rookie. That might change out of the gate, but week 1, it looks like Curtis Samuel's the dude, followed by Khalil Shakir, the incumbent who was here last year, and now rookie Keon Coleman. Interesting.
Another guy that could have a good game, but he's going against Cincinnati is Osborne.
KJ Osborne.
I don't think Robinson is going to do anything against Minnesota.
No, not with Malik Neighbors there. I think Malik Neighbors is going to come out and just be like have to be force fed.
And it's Daniel Jones. I don't trust anything.
And it is Daniel Jones.
There was a meme on online today that they had to adjust the throwing machine for Daniel Jones for the wide receivers, and they were all going short
to mimic Daniel Jones. Is that what you're saying? Is they adjusted the machine, the throwing machine to mimic? Okay.
So I for the matchup, like I got Mahomes is a favorite. Pacheco against McCaffrey. If McCaffrey's 100%, McCaffrey should take that one easily. Gibbs over Mixon. Who knows what Houston's offense is going to be, right? Like, holy cap, Mixon could go 20 or he could do 3. I'm scared about that one. Tyreek Hill.
A.J. Brown versus Tyreek Hill. Yeah. I'll give you Hill. Hill's got that one in the bag. Mike Evans versus Pittman. You probably got Evans in that one.
Be tight.
Yeah, well, I've got essentially rookie Anthony Richardson coming in. So I don't know what to expect between him and Pittman. I just know Pittman's a solid receiver. If Anthony Richardson can make it work, I'm hoping to get that 10 plus points. But Evans is an established dude with a quarterback that he can work with. The 1-2 punch at tight end, baby. Here we go.
I think Kelsey's going to come out. I think Mahomes and Kelsey are both coming out and like kind of a big FU to everybody who's been talking
and announcing themselves as a couple.
Much. I could see Kelsey getting about 18 points, not 11. But Laporta against the Rams, that might be a tough game. The Rams Lions, that could be a closer game than people think. I don't know if it's going to be a high scoring.
It's funny. I'm going to do this right now while we're talking.
Oh, I'm sorry. Order your wings. Order the wings, man.
Order the wings? That's right. All right. This is actually pretty funny. Dan Campbell's commercial at Applebee's. You got to cover your mouth. Otherwise, they'll steal your order. Okay. I'm swapping in Jared Goff. So my Jared Goff, my Gibbs, and my Laporta versus your Mahomes, your Pacheco, and your Kelsey.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So continuing on, I think Diggs is going to have a better game than Hopkins. Mara versus Watson. That's going to be a tight one. That's gonna be a closer one. I don't think Kamara gets 12 points.
I think he does because I don't know if Derek Carr can throw beyond the 5 yards. So I think Kamara gets a lot of points just because of that.
New Orleans is gonna. I think they're gonna want to throw the ball more this year than they have in the past. I get it. Derek Carr is a crappy quarterback, but I just think with the wide receivers that they have, they got to start feeding them.
Mm-hmm.
They got to feed them.
You're right. And I think the guy he's going to end up throwing to is Alvin Kamara. 5 yards out in the flats. Yeah, I think that the Diggs and Hopkins are probably going to be pretty comparable. I'm not sure I'm super sold on Diggs. However, he was recently named team captain or one of the team captains.
I think if he gets hot early, he'll have a wicked game.
Yep.
If he drops one or two early, he's going to shut down.
Frustration. Oh, yeah.
And then I think between Moss and Connor,
James Conner,
I think Moss has a better game than Connor because I think Buffalo's defense is better.
I think Buffalo defense is worse. I think Buffalo's defense fell off a cliff.
Worse than New England.
I think they unloaded No. I think Buffalo's defense is worse than last year because they unloaded like 13 or 17 of their defensive starters because they couldn't afford to keep them. And then they had to bring in a bunch of other guys, and they're not going to be the same
but I
unit.
think they're going to be a better defense than New England's.
Yes, I think they'll be a better defense than New England's.
Especially if Chase doesn't play, Moss will have to...
If Chase doesn't play, Moss is going to have to pick up a lot, yeah.
So my hope, my saving grace in our matchup is that Kelsey, Hill, Moss, and Mahomes all do better than what's projected. Even if you hit all your numbers, if those guys get an extra 3 or 4 points each, then that's what I'm hoping on. That's what I'm really hoping on. Like I hope. I would love to see Mahomes throw 3 touchdowns, 2 of them to Kelsey, 1 to Pacheco, and Pacheco run a touchdown. That would be my my ideal game.
That would be your ideal game, and those are your 2 best weapons. So,
yeah, and then Hill. Oh my God, Miami versus Jacksonville.
Okay, well, yeah, your Tyreek Hill might just torch those guys. I get it, especially if Jalen Waddle doesn't play Week 1. Because of his injury. Okay. So here's the ranking. I picked me. You picked you. Donnie picked me, though. Yep. So I'll take that.
You know what? On paper, you should win.
I should win. And I will. My Lions on Sunday night will outperform your Chiefs on Thursday night. And that's why I committed to swapping out Dak Prescott for Jared Goff. So that we could do the Lions versus Chiefs head-to-head matchup. It's just crazy that we actually happen to have those players. I have Goff and Laporta versus your Mahomes, Pacheco, and Kelsey. Okay, good stuff.
Okay.
All right, matchup number 2 here.
Goliath killer.
Yeah, how are we feeling about that one?
It's close. Like you look at it, 47-53, 110-104. It's a close one. Wow.
I made your decision for you.
Oh, did you? I'm off that screen.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing here is Jalen Waddle might not play. Jalen Waddle calf not listed on injury report for week 1. So he's going to play, which is typical Jalen Waddle. He's going to go into the game injured, and he's going to come out early. And Juan's going to bite, and it's going to hurt him. That's my prediction.
I think Derrick Henry has a tough start.
And Slick, who has we've already ranked him as a playoff he's a playoff contender.
Chuba Hubbard, 9 points for Chuba Hubbard.
I think Chuba's going to be fine. I think that's fine. He's the starter.
Yeah, but still 9 points. I don't know.
Well, yeah, he's a starting running back. That's kind of the minimum for a running starting. It's not 10. Like they're predicting a bunch of carries at low low efficiency and a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree with.
Okay, so I went Slick, you went Slick, and you went Slick.
Yeah.
Donnie versus Chervin. Donnie has the advantage here, 111 to 106.
Yeah, Donnie.
Where is Donnie hiding Bijan Robinson? He doesn't. Oh, that sneaky bugger. So he's playing Breece Hall and Rashad White as his starting running backs, and he's buried Bijan Robinson down here in his.
Yeah.
Sneaky. Does Donnie have? Ooh. Donnie doesn't have a lot of healthy depth here.
I don't think he's.
Oh no. Though. Well, not week 1, but come throughout the season, like he's got Puka Nacua, Bijan Robinson, Javonte Williams, Evan Ingram, Nico Collins, Brian Thomas, Rashad White, Breece Hall. Super young team. Just who's gonna come in if he has to sub somebody? There is some concern here, Donnie. Well, I guess Khalil Shakir, maybe. We'll see what that pans out. Maybe Josh Reynolds in Denver, Jerry Jeudy in Cleveland. Whew.
They picked up this Zacchaeus from Washington, who I think again. I think is going to be on the climb. Halfway through,
could be a number 2
for the end of the year. He's going to be up there, I think. Yeah. So I picked Donnie on this one.
Ooh, Trevor Lawrence versus Miami. Brandon Ayuk, Tony Pollard, DJ. Yeah, I'm going to go Donnie. I like some of the assets that Chervin has, but I don't think they're going to be enough to overcome what Donnie's team can do. Next is Little Baby Sheepman and Bryce. Now, I selected Bryce here because I did some pre-scouting, and I've tagged this one as the closest matchup of the week.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think these guys are going to be super close. Gabriel, Little Baby Sheepman is at 100 points. Bryce is at 111. So it's 11-point difference right now, but I really think that's not a true telling of the tape here. I think things should be a bit closer. My biggest concern for Little Baby Sheepman is he has to start Tajay Spears, the backup running back of Tennessee, and Jamar Chase.
Lamar Jackson. Who gets shut
down? Well, no, Lamar Jackson. You want him to be shut down, but be realistic here. Lamar Jackson's no slouch. I'd rather have Lamar Jackson than Jared Goff. Yeah. And I'm a Lions fan. So Lamar Jackson's going to get stuff done. I think with Lamar Jackson, with Derrick Henry, I'm excited to see how that plays out tomorrow. I assume that defensive front for Kansas City is going to be hurting. They're going to feel some bumps.
We'll see.
We will see. All right. Okay, so I picked Bryce. Who'd you pick? Do you go on Bryce or Little Baby Sheepman?
I want to pick Little Baby Sheepman, but I don't know if I can.
Yes, you can. You can say, Mike, I pick Little Baby Sheepman.
I'm going to go
Or you can do it in a deeper voice. You can go, I pick Little Baby Sheepman.
Little Baby Sheepman this week.
There we go. He's in. I'll even leave it in bold letters for you. And then Donnie picked Bryce. And last, but certainly not least, we've got Marvin, a.k.a. Ice and Metal, versus Josh, a.k.a. the Multibeast.
Probably the biggest gap of the week, yeah.
Of the week, yeah. Burrow, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, who still has the Rookie of the Year tag from God knows when. Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, Mark Andrews, Garrett Wilson, Amon St. Brown, and Ramondre Stevenson. Really, Ramondre Stevenson's about the only weak link in that starting roster.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Not bad. On the other side, we've got Kirk Cousins coming off the Achilles, Zamir White, DeAndre Swift, Cooper Kupp, Drake London, Dalton Kincaid, T. Higgins, Zay Flowers, Brian Robinson.
It's like Higgins could have a big game if Chase is gone.
Could.
I would swap out Kirk Cousins for Rodgers or who was it?
You want Aaron Rodgers on Monday Night Football, his first game back from his Achilles injury, instead of Kirk Cousins on Sunday afternoon football coming off his Achilles injury.
Or even Geno Smith, because they're going against Denver.
I'd probably play I'd rather play Geno Smith
Rodgers,
over Aaron Rodgers.
he's going to come into the game with something to prove.
And then the San Francisco defensive front is going to shut him down and bring out the snot bubbles.
And that could very well be. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be boom or bust this weekend.
Oh, I'm betting bust. I'm thinking this man is going to get utterly destroyed and embarrassed.
He's got some weapons.
To me, it's the offensive line. Has the offensive line improved like people say it has improved? Because just you put the pieces in, do those pieces work? That offensive line was terrible last year. Hence why he did what happened. If it's better and he's good, and that line is good, Rodgers has a chance. He's got the weapons. He can make it happen.
Yes. And that's where I say, like, tomorrow, like this weekend, will be boom or bust for him. I don't know if there's a middle of the road this weekend for him.
Yeah.
But to me, like I said, Geno Smith versus Denver, all day long.
Yeah, he could be absolutely lights out with those guys.
30 points for those against those guys, I think.
On the new Washington offense, I think we are underrating what Washington or Seattle is going to be able to do. If Geno Smith can return to what his form was 2 years ago, those weapons will carry him the rest of the way.
And I just don't like Kirk Cousins, new team, new offense, week 1 off the injury, and I think he's a.
You don't like Kirk Cousins.
I think he's a hack, but regardless of that part of it, new team, new offense, coming off the injury, and his team has some question marks. Like, is Pitts ready to go or not?
No, he's got a brand new hamstring injury that has just been reported.
Bijan can't do everything, and if Bijan does everything, Kirk Cousins isn't getting any points anyway.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's just my thoughts on that one. But there's not enough that he can do to overcome what I think Marvin's got going on his team.
All right. So you're going Marvin. I'm going Marvin. Donnie went Marvin. So we don't have a lot of variation except for matchup, and then Bryce and Little Baby Sheepman. Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you very much for sticking with us. It's been a journey. It's been a lot of fun. Greatly appreciate you all being here with us. Remember, you can like and share everything that you want about this show on our social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Poorman Football, all one word. Come back next week when we do this again, when we review our week 1 matchups. We make our week 2 predictions. We really see how this bet is going to be settled. The tone of the season, the gauntlet has been thrown. It is all going to be decided this week between Andrew and I.
And don't forget, our bet this week is our head-to-head in Poorman.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever wins it takes the 1-0 lead.
Starts the season 1-0 versus the other guy, Andrew, 0-1.
Yes, that would be Mike. Yep.
Now, you and I and some other friends, we're going to get together tomorrow night at the Bend Pub. We're going to watch the game. I'm going to be a little late because I got to take my son to Taekwondo, but I look forward to it. It's going to be great. I think it's going to be a great matchup. It should be a lot of fun. Enjoy your football this weekend, gentlemen. From one poor man to another, remember, if it's not fun, it is not worth doing. Good night, everybody.